All right. So I was talking to Zem yesterday, and he gave me some very colorful. He painted some very colorful pictures of the history. So I'm very curious to hear from other people and see if his accounts are as brilliant and interesting as he made it out to be.
Yeah, I mostly just have notes about like what new strats came in with each world record that I got.
Oh, that's really handy. Okay. So, before we get to that stuff just yet, can you tell me about yourself and your history with Ratchet speedrunning?
Yeah, so I first found out about Ratchet and Clank speedrunning back in 2015. I was just searching on Twitch to see if anyone was playing Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal, the third game.
Mm-hmm.
And I found Zem and he was speedrunning it. And I was immediately interested and wanted to play with the movement tech myself. And so for the next year and a half or so, I was just playing with the movement tech every now and then. Not really speedrunning because I didn't have a capture card or any good way to record it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I first started being like really competitive in mid to late 2017.
Okay. And I believe you started with NG Plus, right? Or
Yeah, I started with NG Plus. Then I moved over to NG Plus No Specials.
yeah, tell me about No Specials.
So No Specials, way back then, it was more like just the cooler version of No IMG because the route for No IMG had a lot of first person mode, which was
Mm-hmm.
just, double jump, mash square, you climb the wall. Kind of boring.
Yeah.
So I just thought No Specials was the better version and it had a worse world record, so I wanted to take that and make it good.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, around this time is when proxies were starting to become a thing, right?
Yeah. So proxies were sort of known, but not really. In all Platinum Bolts, we used to do a lot of like decoying against a slope and then high jumping, and it would make us climb up the wall pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
But we never tried with just the decoy without the high jump until I came around. And that's sort of when, coincidentally, Squonk and I, Super Squonk, another prominent strat finder, started like finding a lot of the proxies that you see pretty much everywhere in the run now.
Mm-hmm. So you said the two of you were finding them?
Yeah, it was a pretty good mix between myself and Super Squonk.
Okay. What was that process like? I'm just out of curiosity, just dash or not dash, but charge into a wall and just hope you fucking go upwards, or
Yeah, just charge against random surfaces in the game, throw a decoy right before you run into it, and hope that you go up. And hope that there's a way to traverse that out of bounds area effectively. And it turns
Okay.
out there were a lot of places where you could do that.
I love old school design philosophies where they had everything had collision, right? Or not
Yeah,
everything, but
Insomniac
like
loved doing that.
there's so much good, it's so much better. Like I don't know, I feel like a lot of times nowadays it's like as soon as you get past the what you can touch, it's all fake. It's like, come on, guys, give me something. Anyways, okay. I guess I have an idea, right? Proxy is like you charge into a wall. I think Zem said it has to be like less than an 85-degree slope, and you just sort of like go from the bottom to the top instantly, right?
Yeah. Just turns all of your charge boot momentum into upwards momentum.
Gotcha. Okay. And yeah, so one of the things that I noticed when I did a cursory go through the list of world records, and I just sort of like watched a couple every cup. I would skip a few and watch every other one, and just so I can kind of see what how things change over time. And for a long time, it's like everything's kind of the same all the way, and then all of a sudden, as soon as I saw your run, I think you had like a 2708. I think is what I saw.
I think my
And
first one was a 2708, yeah.
yeah, I saw that run, and I was immediately like, okay, now we're doing some new shit, right? now we're finally getting into like we're fuck off with that first person. We're doing cool stuff now.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like, all
because I
right,
was the no specials runner. I took all of the strategies from no specials. It turns out they were actually faster than the first person strategies. So I just did them and got world record with them really quickly.
nice. I think Zem had said at one point that one of the no specials runs was actually no IMG world record as well. Or I don't know if that's true or not.
I think that happened when Zem got like a mid 26 or so, but I don't remember exactly.
Okay. I might have to look into that more, but who knows? Anyways. Okay. So then you decided, okay, I'm gonna take what I know from no specials and I'm gonna just snag that no IMG record because it's the big category, but like I can do better, right? I can do better than Zem had the last record, right? Or no, Yoshi Pro had it.
The stats page on speedrun.com is a little bit wonky because we implemented the long load removal. So a couple of the
Um,
records that might have been like barely faster than Yoshi Pro's 27 or Zem's 25. A couple of those runs are cut off from the history from that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Because yeah, I have in the document that it says Yoshi Pro, but I do know that Zem was talking about your 2708 and then like a 2701 or something. 27 flat. I don't know. It's one of those two. Okay. So were those all world records at the time?
Yeah, I think I had 3 runs. It was a 2708, a lower
01.
27, and then I had a 2648.
Yeah.
And those
Okay.
were all around the same time.
Okay. Okay. And then I believe that Zem comes in, and Zem takes the record back from you with a 2647. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's probably the one that was both no specials and no IMG.
Okay. All right. So, did you not want to continue playing no IMG? Because I think your speedrun history shows that you went to any or no NG plus and then any percent, right?
Yeah, like basically my philosophy for most of my Rack 2 running was that I don't run what other top players are running. So like I tend to run the less popular things. Like back in even February of this year I ran any percent, which is a category that hardly anyone runs.
Okay. Okay. So you're just like, yeah, I'm not gonna do what everyone's popular. All the popular kids are doing. I'm gonna do whatever's been neglected for a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's sort of how I got into it with no specials as well, because that was neglected for a while.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I Zem was telling me that I think it was around this time that uh that you and Zem were not exactly on friendly terms.
Yeah, I think it was early 2018 around then.
Okay. I don't want to get too much into like drama, but can you give me a little like roughly how it came about that this rivalry
It
sprung
was
up?
mostly that I was being like a big stream monster in his chat most of the time. I was just saying sort of mean things, asking him dumb questions about when he's going to do this sub goal that he promised among tens of other sub goals that he promised.
Mm,
And I
gotcha.
left mean comments on one of his YouTube videos where he did any percent trifecta, and that was like I was like berating him for getting world record from someone else who used PS2 for all of the runs when PS3 is much faster for all of them now.
Hmm. And he didn't take that too kindly.
Yeah, he didn't take that too kindly. And most of that drama was around all Platinum Bolts runs. So he was like, oh, come on, I can't let him have fun. I'm going to get the first sub 120 before he can in all Platinum Bolts. So it didn't really impact no IMG that much.
Okay. But then after Zem kind of does his thing, at the around the beginning of 2018, he kind of drops off. I don't think he goes anywhere. He doesn't come back to no IMG with Rag 2, right?
Yeah,
You're the one. Go ahead.
I think he got the 2536 in early 2018, right? But speedrun.com will say it's a lower time than 2536, but it's a mid 25.
Okay. I have a 2555, but I don't have a 2536 on here, but I'll need to look into that a little more.
Let me check the obsoleted runs. Yeah, he has a 2536, which is his current PB right now.
Gotcha.
It was 2536 in real time. It says 2529 with the long loads removed.
Okay.
So yeah, you can see that's January 1st, 2018. And I came back to no IMG in March 2018, and I got a 2554, which I made a big deal of this. It would be world record if I got the same loads that Zem got in his 25.
Mm.
And so I did that in March. I didn't care because I know I played better than he did, and that's all I wanted.
Okay. So,
but I did have a lot of new strats going for me. There was train skip was implemented in that time, and there was a new file set up to buy ammo more quickly. Like you had to set up an entire new file just to get the decoy in the center of the vendor.
Interesting. Okay.
So that was in March. Zem was doing his own thing. So I came back to no IMG again in June. And I got the world record then with a lower 25. And
yes.
the run, I made fun of that run a lot in the community. Like it missed Bolden clip, I'm pretty sure. And so I was like super confident that the other top runner, the new Rising Star Fear, would be able to beat it. So I actually put that in my comment, like hopefully the Australian person that I was voice chatting with, which is Fear, would be able to beat this run. I tried foreshadowing there. Unfortunately, it didn't work. So then in August, I came back because there were more new strats, and I wanted to get 24.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it wasn't that much new strats, really. Like, there was a new Dabo strat. But aside from that, it was just that I wanted to fix the mistakes in my 25.
Okay.
And also, there was the Ratchet and Clank annual relay coming up. So that was another thing motivating me to come back. A couple of the world records I got in that were just no resets that I did in preparation for the relay.
All right. So, hang on, I'm making sure I want my ducks in a row here. Okay. So, you were trying to get Fear. Tell me about Fear as a runner.
Fear, he's a pretty interesting character. Like, he tends to beat himself a lot over his runs. And so, like, when I got the 25:35 time, I, tried to foreshadow that Fear was going to beat it, but unfortunately that coincided with a 6-month drought where he didn't get any PBs.
Goodness.
And so it wasn't until later, once we got to a low 24, that he got the world record for the first time. But yeah, Fear, he's an interesting character, very energetic streamer for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was fun voice chatting with him back in 2018 when I was running no IMG a lot.
Okay. Tell me about some of the things you had mentioned. Train skip was a big one, and again, one of the videos that I watched, one of the runs that you did, I think I watched a 2450. I don't know what that time was exactly. I think 2057 maybe.
Yeah, the 2457. I think that still had the first person mode train skip in it, which is very outdated now. But
Maybe.
the train skip was originally found by Super Squonk. He found a different place to use first person wall climbing to get up, and then proxy up some of the out of bounds terrain. But when he originally found it, it saved about 6 seconds, I want to say, and it would be considered the hardest strat in the game for sure. So we didn't really do it until Jarnut, another prominent strat hunter, he eventually found the first person method that we use in the early 24 runs.
Okay. Okay, let me think here. Isn't there a more modern train skip where you go like all the way like around the upper terrain on the left, and then you charge back in on the right toward that final boss arena thing? Is that the one we're talking about, or are we talking about something else? You said a first person mode skip, but I don't remember there being any first person mode when I saw that.
So yeah, the train skip involves a lot of the out of bounds movement. The first person mode was a way of getting to that out of bounds area.
Gotcha. Let me I was gonna pull it up real fast.
So I think in the 2445, it should still have the first person train skip, where I wall climb up on top of like a weird building in order to get to the out of bounds terrain.
You know what I hate is Twitch has that the preview feature where it shows that what you're gonna like if you hover over the timeline, it shows you what the video is supposed to be, but it's never accurate. I hate it. It's always like a minute later or a minute earlier.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's absolutely useless. Anyways.
Yeah, I just looked at the 2445. That doesn't have the old train skip actually. So I think you'll have to look at my 2535 to see it.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, I was like, I could have sworn I didn't see any first person because I made it a note where I'm like, man, they don't do any first person except for Dabo, Aranos 2, Snivelek, and Yeetle. Those are the only places you go in first person, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, I just looked again. The 2535 doesn't have it, but the 2544 does have it.
Okay.
25. Which again, the 2544 is the one that would have been world record if we had the long load removal. But we didn't have it back then, but I didn't care.
When was the long load removal implemented?
See, I think it was shortly after Sub 9 happened in NG+.
Okay.
See, I don't have the exact date, but it was around August of 2018, it looks like. It's like late 2018.
Okay. August 2018, late 2018-ish, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because if I understand correctly, sometimes you get a long load and you get a third sort of like ship.
Yeah, you get an extra screen. It loses you like 3.5 seconds.
Okay.
For each one.
Okay. And then the method is just however many long loads you have. You just take 3.5 seconds off your time, or?
Yeah, you just subtract the time that the extra screen takes.
Okay.
Which different screens take a different amount of time, which is why the long loads happen in the first place. Because say a planet takes like 8.5 seconds to load, if you get the screens that add up to only 8 seconds, you're going to get a third screen, even though you only needed half a second.
Gotcha. Okay. So you said you had more notes about specifically like what was implemented where?
Yeah. So in the 2544, like I said, that's when the train skip was first done, which
Okay.
was in March. And
Okay.
then in June, I finally came back to get the actual world record, which had the new no-tack backtrack, which is an interesting thing. Like, we used to take the taxi and
Mhm.
clip out of the taxi. But apparently Yoshi Pro already knew this, but he didn't tell anyone else. And so we found out eventually that, not taking the taxi was the better way to go. And yeah, in
Yeah.
June there was also the new train skip where you do the decoy clip instead of the first person mode.
Okay. When was the Snivelac fight changed? Because
The
it used to
Snivelac
be
fight was changed very recently.
okay.
Like, I don't think even the current world record does it, but I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think so because I like what I'm saying is that a long time ago you just used the sheep. Was it the sheepinator or something?
Yeah. We
And
used the
then
Sheepinator after we loaded up the boss's model out of bounds.
yeah.
And then eventually Fear and Mantodia, mostly Mantodia, he found out that if you use the hover bomb when you're standing right next to the boss, does a ton of damage.
Is it the hover bomb?
Yeah, the hover bomb. That's the gun that we use for the strat. It's called poking. It's called poking.
Mm-hmm. Why is it called poking, if I might ask?
See, it's something that Mantodia came up with. It's because you're sort of poking your gun into the enemy hitbox. And so with the hover bomb especially, it instantly makes every bomb it shoots explode instantly.
Okay.
Which the fully leveled up version, it shoots out 5 bombs at once. But it's not really all at the same time. It's sort of like one and then a couple frames later another, and for all 5
Gotcha.
of the bombs.
Okay. And so it instantly does all 5 of those like back to back really fast.
Yeah, and it sort of acts like a machine gun, which is the way that poking does so much damage because it involves like a lot of different sources of damage hitting the enemy all at the same time.
Hmm. Makes sense. Okay.
And so the boss actually hits itself as well at the same time. Because it
hits
shoots the
itself?
lasers down at you, and some of those lasers end up hitting itself.
Can it damage itself?
Yeah, it does.
Interesting. I don't know that many instances of bosses that hurt themselves.
Yeah, and this is only because we get it into a very specific position where we're right, like, below it, sort of, but not on the floor. Because if we were on the floor, then it would do a different kind of attack.
Yeah. You stand on like that little, I don't know, it's like a crossway between 2 buildings, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just so I understand it, that allows you to get closer and get you closer inside the hitbox. That way you can do
Yeah.
the poking and they don't do a certain attack to retaliate with.
Yeah, it's like the perfect storm of situations where you can damage it really easily and it damages itself at the same time.
Man. You had mentioned Mantodia. Zem and Ricky both suggested that I talk to Mantodia. What can you tell me about Mantodia? I have no idea who this person is.
Mantodia is like this really big glitch hunter kind of person. He
Okay.
likes to find pretty much any glitch there is in the game. He searches, like, he's even searched like old YouTube videos of Ratchet glitches and stuff like that just to see what kind of things we might have overlooked.
Okay.
So some of the notable things that he's found are poking, as we mentioned before. He also found spider bot stacking, which we now use in any percent in all platinum bolts to kill the proto pet, the final boss, extremely quickly. Because we used to sheep that boss as well. And that took like 5 minutes or something to
Oh my
sheep it.
gosh.
Well, maybe not 5 minutes, maybe closer to it's closer to 2 minutes, I think. But speedrunners, 2 minutes sitting there feels like 5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a big difference from the NG Plus run where you just like dead.
Yeah.
The rhinos felt so busted. Okay. Um. Okay. Yeah, I need to find out more about Mantonia before I do that. Before I do his interview, so I'll have to. But thank you. I didn't know that he was a glitch hunter. So, anything else of really major note that applies to NG Plus that he found?
I can't think of anything else for NG Plus. Most of it is like he has his own setups for existing strategies that he tries to popularize. Like I know when the Aranos 1 Instaclip first came about, he was a huge proponent of strafing over to the right side of the little cage before charging, because that was a lot more consistent than just charging right away, going past the left side of the cage.
Okay. Okay. Let's see here. What else? Trying to think how many other questions I have for you. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to cover?
Let's see, I have one possible suggestion that you could have like in the fun facts things that pop up throughout the video, which
Okay.
is that I'm actually a classic Tetris player.
Oh
Played
yeah.
Yeah.
Zem had mentioned that.
Yeah, I played in the Classic Tetris World Championship. I got in the top 32 this year. I ended up in
Nice.
the top 32 last year as well.
Dude, that's sick. I'm not like super involved or interested, but sorry, that doesn't sound right. But I have a friend who was getting into it, and so he sort of showed me a bunch of stuff, and all like the hyper tapping and the other things. I watched several of like the grand final matches, and I thought that was like super cool. I don't follow it super intently, but I do find it very interesting.
Yeah, was
So,
that friend a player or just a fan of it?
I don't know if he like competed, if that makes sense. He definitely like did stuff, like he was like practicing and stuff on Twitch.
Yeah, I
But I
might
don't.
recognize the name if you tell me their name.
Squidbird?
Squidward, I think I've seen him around, but I haven't seen him that much in the community.
For the record, it's Squidbird. It sounds like Squidward, like from SpongeBob,
Yeah.
but it's a bird. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
haven't seen him around that much. I guess he's
okay.
mostly a viewer.
Probably mostly a viewer who wanted to dip his toes in, because I don't know if he still does it nowadays, but yeah, I found it super cool. So that's super cool though. I think Zem had said that you were like seated at like in the 40s and you beat the number 5 player.
Yeah, this year I was seated number 44, I think. And so I ended up facing the number 5 player in one of the losers rounds, and I beat him.
Wow. That's nuts. What an upset. it's a 40 it's a 40 spot upset.
Yeah, it's the second biggest upset in the tournament. The number 62 seed actually managed to upset the number 3 seed in the losers finals of their bracket.
Wow.
So it was the second biggest.
Yeah, it's funny that you're overshadowed. It's like, God damn it. I took out number 5. Somebody else took out number 3. Damn. Oh well. Yeah, that's so cool though. Okay, that's definitely a fun fact. That's 100% a fun fact.
Yeah.
That was this year, right? You said?
Yeah, that was this year. Last year, they only had 48 people qualify, and I got the number I want to say 14 seed, but I'm not sure. Might have been 12. But I got one of those like seeds, and I actually ended up losing in round 1.
That sucks.
But that's still top 32.
Still top 32. That's right. Okay.
So back on topic.
Yeah.
August 2018, that's when I came back to get 24, and it was mostly for the relay.
Mhm.
I mostly came back to get ready for the relay that was happening in August.
This was, what year was this exactly?
August 2018.
2018. Okay. Making sure I got
No
my
IMG
timeline
was
right.
in the relay. I was running it against them, and I ended up not seeing the queue for when I was supposed to start. So it looked like I lost a minute to him, but my run was actually better than his.
Got it. Okay. So the relay was, can you describe the relay to me more? Like, is this how many games or how many categories?
See, the relay usually has 6 or 7 different categories, I want to say. Usually involving at least 2 or 3 of the PS2 games, and then like sometimes size matters, and 3 of the PS3 games, and sometimes PS4.
Okay.
It sort of depends on what's more popular that year and
Yeah.
who's available to run.
Okay. Who else was on your team?
Oh, in 2018, I know I was on Team Megacorp. I think I was with Ricky for Ratchet 1, Ninja Ratchet for Ratchet 3, Mobius and Killa Lombax for future games, and I think Peanut was scheduled to run PS4, but he had something come up, so he wasn't able to do that.
Got it. Okay. Did you say they did this every year?
Yeah, we've done it every year since 2018. I think we had one in 2016, and then we didn't have one in 2017.
Got it.
So 2018, it was hosted by Speed Gaming, and I didn't get any queue to start. So in 2019 and in this year, we ended up switching it over to a GDQ hotfix.
Did that work out better?
Yeah, that worked out a lot better. I think it was much better organized.
GDQ is very organized. I'll give you that. I'll give them that. They are 100% way better organized. So, okay. I like the idea. I should see that. Has there been one this year or no?
Yeah, there was one this year.
Damn, I missed it.
But this time I ran Ratchet 3 NG Plus no quit exploit.
Mm-hmm.
And the Rack 2 race was an all platinum bolts race.
Okay. Okay. Were you going to go any more with the? You had mentioned that you come back in August because of the relay. Was there anything else besides that, or was that?
Like, I was just going to continue on with the notes I had for the record history.
Oh, absolutely. Let's keep going.
So yeah, then in November I came back again to get the 2422 with the new jamming reroute that I actually found myself.
Okay.
That
Can you
was
describe? Okay, go ahead.
that was just like a quick thing. I came back to do it. Not much else. I just wanted to get a good run with the new strat.
Okay. Can you tell me more about the jamming reroute?
Yeah, so normally, like for the preceding like 3 years before I found that, we always did the first bolt crank, second bolt crank right in front of it, and then we turned right and took several jump pads to get to another bolt crank. But
Mm-hmm.
now instead of doing that, we just went straight forward after the second one and did the one over the lava bounce surface. I don't know what else to call it. And then after what was normally the last bolt crank, we would charge off the edge, do a wrench swing in midair, and then first person wall climb up to the one that normally took several jump pads to get to. And it ended up saving about 8 seconds, I think.
Okay. That doesn't sound that crazy, and yet you still PB'd by like 20 seconds.
Yeah, there was still some slop. Every time I came back, it was a mixture of new strats and better execution.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so then after that, I was like really trying to cheer on Fear because he wasn't able to get it when the record was 25. So I was like, come on, Fear, you got to get it now. And so I sort of stepped away from No IMG for a while.
Yeah, I got this impression whenever Zim was telling me about it that everybody was like, okay, Fear, he's got this, but he keeps like choking in the last minute. Like he keeps like he doesn't have the composure. Like he needs like, he has the ability, he has the skill, he has the dedication to do it, but he just keeps like dropping the ball at the and he just can't get to it. Right. So it's like we're gonna just walk away and just let him do his thing until he gets it. It's kind of the feeling I got.
Yeah, that's essentially what happened after I got the 24-22. I just stepped away for a while. I've only really played the category once or twice since then, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So I just sort of stepped back, let Fear get his stuff together, get the world record. Come on, you got this. Cheering him on the whole time while I run other games and other categories.
Okay. A part of me, I don't know if that's sportsmanship or what the word I'm looking for is, but I do appreciate. It's like, you know what? I guess, how do I say this? Not many people would be like, all right, I'm gonna let someone else take world records because I know that they can or something. You know what I mean? Like most people are like, no, I'm gonna push the time down and I'm gonna get it.
Yeah,
Maybe
and I
when you're
guess
a
another
tournament.
part of it for me specifically was that I got Puyo Puyo Tetris into AGDQ 2019. So I was working on that for, this is the end of 2018, so AGDQ 2019 is right around the corner.
Right.
I got to be practicing for my Puyo Puyo Tetris run.
This is a stupid question. Can you speedrun Puyo Puyo Tetris? Is
Yeah,
there like a story
it
mode?
has an adventure mode. It has a
Okay.
story mode. And
Okay.
so that's what the speedruns are.
Gotcha. Is it kind of like whenever you clear lines, you send junk to the opponent, and then whenever they fill up, you just keep going to the next one?
No, each story level is its own thing, where sometimes you play as Tetris, sometimes you play as Puyo, sometimes you play in swap mode, sometimes you play in fusion mode. There's a lot of variety in each level, and
Okay.
each level has its own strategy that you have to go for.
Okay. Cool. Neato. I am not super familiar with Puyo Puyo Tetris, but I at least know the concept. Okay. Cool.
And so then my last world record, the 23:55,
mhm.
that was another thing I got right before the relay, the 2019 relay. And you
Okay.
can see that in the speedrun.com comment.
Oop.
Because Mantodia actually found the Whoopash zero drop setup. And I think that was like 1 or 2 days before the relay. And so I was like, okay, I really got to run this like right now, get practiced with strategy so I can use it in the relay. And then all the stars aligned, and I just managed to get a really good run to get 23 the day before the relay.
There you go. You said the Whoopash zero drop, or what was it?
Yeah, it's a Whoopash zero drop because Whoopash is the first ship level in the run.
Yeah.
And normally what we used to do is we used to charge with the ship towards the sun, the background object of the sun in the level.
Yeah.
And then we turn around, shoot the nuke, and there would usually be 4 enemies left. So we call that a 4 drop if there were 4 enemies left.
Gotcha.
And Mantodia found a different way to charge with the ship. So we didn't charge towards the sun anymore. And then when we charged in that direction, it was like straight down. And then when we turned around, sometimes when you shoot the nuke, there would be 0 enemies left and it would instantly take you to the next wave.
Okay.
And so that was like the final turning point to get to 23.
Okay. That was what you needed. How much time does that save?
See, I think it ended up saving again in the ballpark of 8 seconds.
Okay. Eight's not a that's not a small amount of time. 8 seconds. So
Yeah, especially in a category like this.
yeah.
8
One
seconds is the kind of time where I'm like, okay, I gotta come back, get a run with this, figure out how to do it consistently so I can do it in the relay. And Mantodia was actually the person I was racing in the relay, so it was even more important that I learn his own tricks so that I can be equal with him in the relay.
There you go. One of the things I was gonna ask about is I think I heard Ricky say something like nuke storage was a term I heard somebody use.
Yeah,
Like
nuke storage.
yeah.
That's a frame perfect trick on Feltzen, the second ship level,
Yep.
where you shoot the nuke, and if you pause on the first frame of the explosion, then the explosion still goes off after you restart the level. And so you have the explosion after you restart that kills wave 1. And since you restarted, you get your nuke back and you can nuke wave 2.
Oh, that makes sense.
And
Okay.
so since Feltzen is like just under 10 minutes in, it's sort of the dividing point between the early game and the mid game.
Gotcha. Plus, it's like I guess that's a pretty major one, right? You have to get that.
Yeah, because it's really hard. And you can reset for it as many times as you want, but every reset loses like 3 seconds.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So then definitely it's like, okay, cool. We have to get this. And then if you don't, then it's like, okay, well, we can reset. We're only a few minutes into the run. Well, not a few minutes, but.
Yeah, so usually most world record runs are going to get it within the first 3 attempts.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see here. Any other notes? I mean, you got your own runs here. Any notes on like on Fear's most recent records?
No, I don't have any notes for Fear's records. I mostly just took notes for my own.
Okay, that's fair. Okay. Is there anything we haven't talked about? Let me look through my notes here.
But I guess just off memory, the main thing that Fear has been implementing is the midair charges, where
Oh yeah.
you cancel the charge boots in midair and then you charge again, and it's a frame perfect trick, but it's actually like something you can sort of time with your own button inputs as frame perfect. It's not like nuke storage where you shoot the nuke, you have to wait almost exactly 1 second and then pause. It's not like that kind of blind luck.
Right.
And so Fear put in a ton of work to get consistent with those, and he's found like several double charge strats throughout the run that save in the ballpark of 15 seconds if you put them all together.
Wow. That's big.
Yeah, some of the planets that he double charges on are Uzla, the second planet. That one saves like 2 seconds or so. He also has triple charges where you have to do 2 of those frame perfects.
Oh boy.
And there's one of those on Notak and one of those on Siberius. And those save a crazy amount of time. And by crazy, I mean crazy small. It's only like 1 or 2 seconds for each one.
That's very good way to put it. Crazy small.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really willing to risk it for those except for him. And he only really does it when he's on bad runs that need the time save.
Gotcha. So what specifically makes it faster, right? Do you just reset your top speed or
It usually leads to like better corner cutting to get through the map. So on Uzla, instead of jumping through the shop, turning corners, you use a double charge to get to a certain spot where you can proxy on top of the building. and then that lets you cut the corner and skip the slow first-person decoy clip.
Got it.
And then the ones on Notak and Siberius, they're just like better corner cutting through the air where there's nothing else that you could possibly charge off of.
Okay, that makes sense. Then you have to do the double charge or the mid-air charge. Okay. One thing I was going to ask, a note that I had, this is just probably just a silly thing. Why don't y'all use swing shot in New Game Plus on like Snivelac?
That is because the swing shot storage strategy in NG Plus, that is something you have to have set up in the file beforehand, and you can't actually get rid of the swing shot, because throughout the entire game you have a set of 2 weapons. Like you have one that you're holding and one that you double tap triangle to access.
Yeah.
And so in order to keep the swing shot all the way to Snivelac, you have to make sure that it stays in one of those 2 slots. And so it really inhibits what you're able to do throughout the run if you tried to keep it the whole time.
Okay. Yeah. I've played all the Ratchet and Clank games, but I never owned a PlayStation. So I have like a really good idea of how the games work because I play them like at a cousin's house or something. So I'm like, surely swing shot is faster, because I saw that in Fear's run. I'm like, I think that's faster than the first person strat where you like jump towards that building and then like, climb all the way up.
Yeah, it is faster. The problem is that, we never go to Indako in NG Plus, no IMG.
There you go. All right. Okay. Last chance. Anything else you want to bring up? Because I think I've run out of questions for you.
Yeah. Let's see. There's a couple funny stories.
Oh, I love stories.
This is about a runner named Torpedo. He tends to find silly optimal things by complete accident.
Okay.
So he was the first runner to use the Plasma Storm weapon for places like the Maktar Arena and for jamming array. And that ended up being the more popular move nowadays. And he also found that if you're not wearing the best possible armor, then you don't have to go into the menu and equip the charge boots, because they'll already be equipped.
Interesting. What
But that's
about
only if you don't have the best possible armor. So it means that the run essentially gets a little bit more risky.
Okay. Interesting. I'm curious why that is. Why having the best armor means that you have to equip him.
Yeah, it's just for whatever reason, when you have the best armor, or if you have a skin, then the game will not automatically change you back to the charge boots.
Interesting. Okay. That's neat. But at the same time, don't you guys have like an insane amount of health anyways?
Yeah, we have a ton of health, so the armor doesn't matter that much.
Okay.
But the funny thing is, Torpedo originally found it when he had a file with no armor. And so he would get like 2 shot by enemies even with that insane amount of health.
Is NG Plus more difficult? Like, did the enemies do more damage or anything, or is it that the normal?
The challenge mode enemies do more damage.
Okay, that makes sense then. I was about to say, like, how in the world do you have full HP and you still get 2 shot by some of those guys? But that makes sense. Okay. Any other torpedo stories or any other stories in general?
Not really. I guess the main thing was, like, I guess the biggest takeaway for this is that when I first got into No IMG, I came in with no special strats, and I dominated with them. I think that's the main takeaway.
That's definitely the biggest part. The biggest thing in the story that I think is really cool is that, yeah, you're like, I'm not gonna do the first person shit. That's so lame. And then you just found better strats. You know, you and Squawk, right? You
Yeah,
guys found the
Squonk.
proxy stuff. Squonk. There we go.
Yeah.
I knew I was close. You and Squonk found like just cooler stuff. You know, cooler strategies that are they're faster, and you don't have to worry about like fiddling with the menu and then doing the just wrench like you know, it's slow and boring. So it definitely makes the run way more interesting, way more flashy, but it's also faster. So that's the cool thing.
Yeah, that's like my favorite thing about strat finding. If you don't like the way it's currently done, just find a better way to do it.
There you go. It's that easy, forehead. Just be better. Yeah. I also love that the little tidbit about like and trying to encourage fear, like, listen, dude, you can do this. Like, I'm not even going to touch the category. You can go take world record, right? Like, leaving
Yeah.
it for him because that empowers him. He can finally claim it, and then it's like that you break the mental barrier of like, oh, I can't do this, right? And then you finally do it. And you're like, okay, I can do this, and now he's the world record holder. Now he's like, and he keeps going and he keeps pushing stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's the cool thing. I love that. I love both those parts. Okay. I think that's all I've got for you. I'm gonna be talking to Fear here in like an hour, maybe.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's an Aussie, so I won't. He'll be I don't know. I hope he's awake by now. I have no idea what time it is over there.
It's probably around noon over there right now.
Okay. All right. Scottobozo, thank you so much for chatting with me. It's been very enlightening.
Yeah, thank you for the interview. I'm so glad that this game can be on Speed Docs.
Hell yeah, dude. I think we did the first one, and well, originally I talked to Zem, and I was like, "What category should we do?" Right, because he's like the rat guy, and he was like, "All right, so you can do Ratchet and Clank 3, which is my big deal, right? You can do Ratchet and Clank 2, New Game Plus, no IMG. That's a sick category. Okay, cool. Or you can do Ratchet 1, NG Plus, and that's the biggest category. And that's the big. Okay, we're gonna go with that one." But then he gave us like one for each game, and it's like that's 3 really good videos that we could make, right? So we just happened to pick Rack 1 to start with, and now we're like, why not do Rack 2? I'm sure that'll be great. It'll be amazing. You know, this is a cool category and everything. So
Yeah, I think the thing with Ratchet 3 is that it's just been Zem for the past so many years, like 6
yeah,
years or 7, something like that.
I think it'll be a challenge to tell a story. But the thing about Ouya is that it's been so influential on the other categories. What was Silence's run, right?
Yeah.
I think Silence that run in particular was a little bit before your time. No offense, but you came in at like 2015 ish, and that was more before you even really pushing the top times, right?
Yeah. Like when I first came in, Zem was already the well-established Ratchet 3 record holder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we do Ouya, it'll be a challenge. Maybe it'll be a shorter video. We don't have to worry about focusing on every single record, but I don't know. That game, it's funny that game is so influential because of all the movement tech. That was really that changed the way that other categories were run. But at the same time,
Yeah.
it's also just like it's just Zem. Zem's just a demon who just can't be beat. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it was mostly Uyo's mostly the biggest one because Zem is the biggest name in the community, and that
yeah,
was his main game.
yep. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and end the recording here.